So good morning, everyone. I'm going to take a leaf out of Mike's book this morning, and I'm going to record this in gallery view versus speaker view. I kind of like that. I was watching your call this morning, Mike, and I have to say, as a quick side note before we begin, you were talking about aligning success being a culmination of your life's work. You need to put that in a book. Just as a side note, you really, really do. There is a big audience for what you speak about, and I'm not just saying that because I've written a book. I mean, you've already written a book, but I wrote one last year, as you know. But you need to do it seriously on aligning with success. You need to get that in print and get it out there because you are a master of that message. So welcome everyone to today's call. And obviously, as you can tell from what I just said, if you haven't listened, if you weren't on the call last night, jump on, watch the recording. It's already been posted on the WhatsApp groups. Take the time to listen. Powerful words that Mike shares with everyone that's willing to feel the message and align themselves with it. Really good. And Maggie's saying she agrees, Mike. Get it in print. Get it in print. So I wanted to touch on something again, and I don't want to repeat too much of what Mike said last night. And he touched on, of course, the great inaugural kickoff that we had with the Master Day event on Saturday. I'm hoping everyone that's on the call today got the chance to participate. It was phenomenal. A huge thank you to everyone that made it what it was. All of you that were on there that were speaking came across so professional. Yeah, I sat there and I was listening. I said to Kim, for anyone that was listening for the first time, coming into this environment, because it's all about being a part of a community, part of a club that people want to belong to and feel a part of. You nailed it. That this was a space that made people feel at home, feel welcomed, and it was inspirational. So thank you for delivering such messages that resonated, that made it easy to understand, simple to apply, and straightforward to grasp. Now, that was just fantastic. So the great thing is, what I loved about it was it's the first of a series of events where these will happen every month. Dee's saying, where and when will it be posted? That's a good question. That one will be a question perhaps for the corporate office. Mike, I'm not sure, or anyone else that participated on the call, if they are going to post them or if they're simply going to say, come along and attend the next one.
They're in the 12-month calendar.
No, are you talking about Dee? Sorry, are you asking when will it be the recording be posted? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that question. What it might be a matter of is attend the event. They are on a monthly cycle. But what it really taught me was this gives us a clear rhythm to plug into, because that event was so full with recognition, with training, with announcements, with teamwork, with collaboration, with community, all of that type of thing being demonstrated, that if we work hard, this is the thing, if we work hard in building our contact lists and inviting people to participate and do the ABCs and lead them along the path to this event on a monthly basis, we'll have a meaningful business for them to connect with and to be a part of very quickly. Now, some people have asked in regards to the waterfall incentive, and I talked about this before, why is it not open to everyone? I want to touch on this for just a second. One of the key benefits of it being available for directs, executives, and silvers is it's like a fast start program. And so what it does is it focuses us as established distributors on recruiting and helping people that are new recruits get started quickly and profitably in the right activities. If we opened it up for everyone and made it a kind of an available for all program, then the incentive and the drive to recruit and develop new team members and to help them get started quickly diminishes. If we look at a lot of other network marketing companies that are thriving, they all have these fast start mechanisms that kick people into gear. Yeah. Now, in the old days, we would have, it would be focused a lot on packs, and that would be a mechanism. But we have a new environment right now, a new landscape that we operate in that has a different regulatory kind of space, doesn't it? And so with that, what we've got is a really strong balance in recruiting, because this program is for new people that come in, but it helps them be profitable through their retail activities at the same time. So we get that really good balance. And then if we can help them to plug in and do the same thing, then again, we start to get the growth. And so I want everyone to understand that the real power of that is we recruit, we build our contact lists, we do the ABCs, we lock them into these events on a monthly basis, and we focus them on getting started quickly and profitably by utilizing the waterfall program that will give them added bonuses and incentives for being profitable straight away. That's what we want. Sue, you got your hand up. You wanting to ask a question?
Well, not ask a question, but along the lines of what you're talking about. I mean, even though anybody gold or above doesn't qualify for that, if we're using that as part of our business building, I mean, that's going to help us achieve, Club Ki Pro, because until they're actually in our silver line, I mean, that's part of our group volume, and that just helps us go forward. Even though we don't get that performance commission, we're still bettering our business.
Absolutely. And we've got to look at it long-term as well. So you've got the immediate benefit to the front line, to the new person. Yeah. And if they're not going to get immediate benefits, and this is just standard business practice. It's one thing to acquire a customer using a distributor in the customer language of a conventional business. Yeah. Because businesses outside of network marketing don't have distributors. They just have customers. Yeah. But they will spend a lot of money in acquiring the customer. But what good is all of that effort and time and resource in acquiring them if we don't engage them and then retain them? So you got those three key words that all businesses are focused on: acquisition, retention, and engagement. And what this does is it helps us in a high and tight environment, which is great for our business over the long term as well, to acquire, retain, and then engage, because they get benefits straight away. Yeah. And then the benefit, as Sue was saying to us, well, it certainly helps us with Team Kaizen goals, Club Ki goals, Team Taishi goals. And that helps us to focus on what we're doing. And why is that important for us? Team Kaizen isn't simply about winning a trip. A trip is a benefit. It's a reward, but it's not the primary benefit. The ideal is, and I hope Ruth Lowe doesn't mind me using her as an example, because her and Robert and I kind of worked a little bit together last year, and we're carrying on this year in a mentoring capacity. And one thing that we've really observed is her business has gone like this. She worked hard to get into Team Kaizen. She got there with a strong push a couple of years ago in the final months. Last year, she didn't need the strong push in the final months. She was there consistently, month after month after month, with the right activity, the right volume going in, and she finished early, and she finished strong. And as she said before, without the stress and headaches of that final anxiety push in the 11th hour. She did it. And so she's coming in now. Why was that? Because she laid the foundation the year prior. Now, this last year, she had a stronger business. This year, it's going to be even stronger again. So what you're getting here is organic, natural growth for how her business should be developed, which is great. That's what we want. Madeline.
I'd like to pick up on that. So after listening to Mike last night, what I was inspired with is the people that I have sponsored in the last 2 years, with 2 years of Team Kaizen, and where they all are now. So my focus this year is working with those teams and their Team Kaizen and whatever their individual goals are, because of depth, to build the depth. So not that I'm not going to continue contacting and inviting and building my retail sales, but my focus is shifting on building depth with the people that I brought on, or whatever they want to do. I've got enough of them. So that's what I'm in the process of doing now, is sorting to determine what their goals are and who's ready to move on a serious 90-day launch themselves.
Fantastic. And that's it. That's it. We bring them in, we make them strong. And you did a great job, Madeline, as another Team Kaizen member, in developing a good number of new silvers. You brought them through, you got them started strong. Well, but you developed a team there, didn't you? You developed a team. Yeah. And that team, they showed up at the meetings, they were present, they were engaged, and they're active, and you produce some fantastic outcomes. And then that's the next step. We've got to look at our businesses with the concept of short-term goals and long-term achievement. Yeah. And the short-term goals are the quick wins that we can help our new people develop: acquisition, retention, and engagement of new people. How does that benefit us? It gives us our midterm goals. Team Kaizen is a midterm goal. It's an annual thing, so that we can move forwards in a long-term way to move from gold to platinum, platinum to diamond, diamond to royal diamond, and so on. And we do that by laying foundations and building in strength, as Ruth Lowe did. And then, as Madeline was talking about there, when you get those new leaders coming through, we help them understand what their goals are, go on a discovery journey with them, and build in depth and get that strengthened. And that's where the duplication comes in. And we shift them from, as Eric Warrior was saying in the GoPro event in December, from being dependent and moving in a journey to independence. And that journey from dependence to independence is what duplication is. Yeah, that's that key word that we talk about in network marketing all the time, isn't it? We want duplication. When that is happening all the time organically, we're living the dream. That's when the dream comes to fruition. And how does that happen? We facilitate and help people move from dependence to independence. Now, I want to talk about that process just a little bit. So we've kind of laid a bit of a foundation today in recognizing that we've got a program in Nikken on a monthly cycle with great events that are co-hosted with the company and the field, that we have confidence we can tap people into and give them a good, positive experience, a sense of belonging and community. There, they'll get instructed, they'll see recognition, they'll see announcements from the company, and so on and so forth. We also see programs put in place that help us to acquire, retain, engage new people, and get them profitable, and help us in our midterm goals get to where we need to go and get some achievement there and moving towards our long-term goals. Okay, so in that process, we have new people coming, and we want to help them get secure and establish their own criteria and formula for achievement as well. What does their success look like? Who do they want to become? And I want to touch on that a little bit in leading out from what Jeff talked about on Saturday. I really loved his piece in the Master Day, where he was talking about motivation and the contradiction. The initial apparent contradiction that motivation isn't necessarily the antidote or the answer for us becoming successful, that it was actually something quite different. And he gave a great example, because the reality is, if motivation and goals was the answer, then what separates out every Olympic athlete that goes in to perform and to compete? Because every Olympic athlete that gets on the track, that gets out there to represent their company, every one of them, they are highly motivated. Everyone has a goal to win. No one enters the Olympics to become fourth or fifth. Yeah, they go in there to get first. Yeah. So what separates them out? The answer isn't motivation. It was systems. Isn't that interesting? The antidote there for achievement and success is systems. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And what I love is we have systems in place here this year that are better than what we've had before with this collaborative approach with the office. I love that. So with that in mind, let's look at how then do we shift? If we fall to the level of our systems, how do we make a shift? Because some of the challenges that we face in making those changes on a daily basis come down to simply looking at one critical thing back to front. When it comes to changing behavior, it's kind of proven everywhere, isn't it? That changing established behavior is pretty hard. Wouldn't you agree? And so how do we go about that? Well, again, we talk about motivation, we talk about setting goals, but we see that that doesn't always work. But that's, like I said, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. So you've got 3 layers that people focus on. And I want you to imagine this, if you will, like a dartboard, yeah? Or an archer's kind of target. On the outer layer, you've got outcomes. In the middle layer, you've got processes. And then in the center, the bullseye, you've got identity. Now, most people work as they strive to change their behavior in order to achieve something. They focus on the outside in. Now, what James Clear says, James Clear was the author that Jeff referred to. His book, I've got it here. I recommend it. Atomic Habits. Please, if you haven't got it, get it. It's insanely incredible in what it teaches. But he explains that people have it back to front. They go from the outside in. They focus on outcomes in order to change who they are. What we should be doing is focusing on identity and moving outwards to outcomes. So, for example, rather than saying, I want to write a book, which is an outcome, you say, I'm a writer. Yeah, that's who I am. Instead of saying my goal is to run a marathon, that's what I do, that's the outcome, change it to I'm a runner. Instead of saying I want to learn an instrument, say I'm a musician. Instead of saying I want to qualify for Team Kaizen, I say I'm a business leader. Now, what's the difference in this? The difference is when who we think we are aligns with our activities, our behavior is easier to shift. If I don't think of myself as a musician, then I'm not going to behave like one. But if I think that I am a musician, I'll practice more. I'll look for opportunities to perform. So at first, for example, last year when I was writing my book, I started out writing a book. And then somewhere in that process, something shifted in my psyche and I became a writer. Yeah. And that really comes down to, again, that sense of identity. Identity means, we are what we repeatedly do. Yeah. So the more I repeatedly do something, the more I become that person. So if I repeatedly do leadership things and act like a leader of my business, then I will become one. And then the outcome of that will be I will qualify for Team Kaizen or do other things. I've seen a number of people rank advance in Nikken and get to platinum, for example, but maybe haven't felt like they've gotten the rank, but then they haven't felt like they were a platinum. And it was interesting to me. I'll tell you why. Because this was a new observation that I had when I'd left the office, right? And so this is a unique insight that I'm sharing here, because in the office, when I'd worked on the corporate side of the table, I'd seen all platinums kind of alike. They were all leaders. They were platinums. They were leaders of their business. And therefore, I had assumed they all shared a sense of identity skill and competence because they'd achieved that rank. When I jumped into the field, I saw that some people lacked the belief in themselves, had achieved that rank, but then maybe fallen out of qualification and hadn't felt like a leader. And as a consequence, they felt something different. Imposter syndrome set in, and then they started to act differently. And then their businesses behaved differently. And that was a really interesting phenomenon. I hadn't seen that before, because in the office, we saw people by their rank. As I've moved into the field, I've seen people by their hearts. And it's been quite a different experience.
So Ben, could we link that to Mike's last night? So for the people that didn't listen to last night, that are listening today, as they listening to the two, that's the one takeaway that I really took away, was that feeling. And if that feeling isn't there, that ecstasy feeling of falling in love with whatever that passion is. So that, and it's, we all have admitted, all levels.
Yeah.
It has been a bit of a challenge to feel passionate about the rank that we're in. So then we don't talk about the rank. We're talking about these
other things.
Yeah. No, we're talking about retailing and everything that there is with retailing and the incentives and everything there is with the outcomes, that outer one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, that was my connection. And it connects what you're saying today to a theme from last night to what Jeff said.
Yeah.
So we're connecting these three leadership trainings, I think.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. That's what we're striving to do. That's what we're striving to do. It's a shared message and a shared team. But the critical thing is, I want to assure everyone that having some aspect of that imposter syndrome, if you feel that, is natural and okay. I don't want you to beat yourself up for it. I was amazed. I was scared to death, for those of you that have read my book, when I wrote it, because I got pretty vulnerable in there and sharing some subjects that I hadn't shared with a wider audience before. And I was genuinely nervous, and I've been overwhelmed at how many people have read it and then reached out and said, will you mentor me? Will you help me? People outside of Nikken have reached out and said, yeah, I totally relate. Can you please help? And thank you for being brave enough to share that. And I've found that when you share those vulnerabilities, other people, surprise, surprise, are human too. Yeah. Isn't that nice? That's the great power of this business. The community that we're in, the strength of it lies in the strength of our network, our ability to be connected, our ability to share that vulnerability and to say, I find this bit tough, knowing that I'm sharing it in good confidence with someone that will respect that, treat it with kindness and compassion, and help us out. That's what the business is. That's what makes it great. That's why we can come to a place like this and invite people to a place like this with confidence, because we can say here, if you're a little bit nervous, that's okay. We've got your back. You've got a support team. If you feel inadequate, don't worry about it. You'll grow. And if you're a leader and you're going, man, I should know this by now, don't worry about it. Get there. Yeah. Madeline, do you want to say something again?
Yeah, since I do the Better Way every Thursday night, it also connects to two slides there. The habits is the trajectory slide. And the other one is the team, that the slide that says you're not in alone, you have the whole team, that lifting others up, because and that we do have that, and that other places don't. So now the shift to into the action and the becoming the Olympic winners, whatever our individual passion is. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madeline. So I want to conclude on this point. As we look at our identity, look at those three things again, those three measures: our outcomes, our processes, and our identity. If we're going to work from the inside out, knowing that what I believe about myself will impact how I behave, and as a result of how I behave, that will determine what I achieve and what I get. Yeah. So it all comes back to, I am what I repeatedly think. We are what we think about. Yeah. If that's the case, What are the beliefs that I have about myself that I need to shed and get rid of? And what are some new beliefs that I need to establish and recreate? It's really important. This isn't an easy process. And what I'd like you to do, please, is if you, I don't want this to be a kind of a vacuumous kind of call to action where we say, yeah, that's a nice close to a call. Thank you very much. And then we go about our way and we don't think about it again. I'm serious on this. What beliefs do you hold about yourself and your own identity that hold you back? I want us to take time to think about it. What beliefs do I need to create? And the reason I ask us to think seriously about it is I've gone through this process myself a number of times in identifying negative or false beliefs that I hold about me. It's hard. It's not easy because I believe it. Yeah, that's the challenge. How do I admit something that I believe to be true is false? That's tough. But we have these subconscious subliminal beliefs. And the way to identify them is perhaps look at some of our self-destructive behaviors, yeah, that get in the way of how we perform and go, where did that come from? Because what we do is the fruit of what we think, feel, and believe. Yeah. So maybe the starting point is, what am I doing? And where does that behavior come from? I must have a belief there that is self-destructive, that is prohibiting me from getting something good here going on. I want us to go through this process and identify it. And I want to find out if you're finding it hard to make the change. I want you to please let me know. I've gone through this process a number of times. Like I said, it's not easy. But if it would help, it would be my pleasure to spend maybe next week's call or a future call on how do we eliminate negative beliefs that are incorrect, and how do we replace them with correct ones? And like I said, it seems straightforward at first blush. Oh, I don't believe I'm capable or I'm strong enough. Well, get some more willpower and believe in yourself more. That's not the answer. It doesn't work that way. If only it was that simple. We constantly get told superficial motivational techniques, don't we? It doesn't work that way. Why? Because if I don't believe I'm good enough, I don't believe it. That's the problem. I believe I'm not good enough. How do I fix that? It's not easy, especially if it's if it's subconscious or it's been embedded in my psyche for a long time. You know, there's often, unfortunately, only a few people that kind of get through life having a full set of wonderful beliefs about themselves and their potential. I've not seen too many people that come out of this life having it all in order. But those that do, I admire them. But a lot of us, most of us, have some work to do in ourselves, yeah? So let me know. Already we've got some comments coming in. Yes, that would be really helpful. But private message me as well, please. Let me know if this is a subject that you think would be helpful, because I want you to get the best out of your business. If we can change how we think about ourselves, then it will change how we respond to the systems that Nikken has put in place, how we respond to our business, how we respond to those around us, and the outcomes that we get in our lives. So much of it comes down to who we think we are. And I really want to address that. So if that's of help, let's do it. Because what we do see, and I'll say this is my final thought, is in a big environment like this, a global business with a global community, we see people getting different results, don't we? They have the same systems.
Ben, before you do your final thought, hang in there 1 second. What is the distinction? You know, there was a time when we faked it till we made it, act as if, right? Those things got me to where I am, yeah. Right? Dress the part, be the one that, you know, that underlying focus and, or that carrot for the best, you know, the thing out there that had me do things in a way that I Barbara couldn't do, but Barbara the Royal Diamond or Barbara that person could then step into those shoes and take on. So what is that distinction when you said the imposter syndrome versus what I'm talking about? Is that similar?
What you're sharing there is a really important mechanism. Yeah. Well, one of the challenges that some people face in acting as if is they don't know what that as if acts like. Yeah. So they can get there to a point. Yeah. So I understood that principle when I was in my corporate career, but early on in my career, act as if I was a CEO. Well, maybe I was just a graphic designer at the time with high ambition. I don't know what a CEO acts like. Yeah. So how can I do that? There would have been some superficiality with that. Maybe some perceived confidence and posture, dress differently, that type of thing, read different books, but it would start with little things. And then over time, those little things educate us. And what's critical is that compound effect. It's one of those slides in our Better Way presentation. It's that compounding effect, isn't it? Of doing the right thing in little amounts consistently over time. That's what's created our negative beliefs, but it's also what will eliminate them and create the new beliefs. Yeah.
And the step above, or the stepping into it, and I'm going to plant a seed of a visualization because, when the waterfalls went on back order way back when, I happened to have one.
Yeah.
So I ordered the kit for someone, but I ended up going and delivering that waterfall myself.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. Like the before the word ambassador came out, and maybe that's what instead of being Royal Diamond, maybe we all need to be royal ambassadors for Nikken and speak as if and handle the things ourselves.
Yeah.
And then, so we are the representation to the field. We are the representation to the outer circle, the world, the realm.
No, you're right. Because the more we do those consistent things over time, what happens is those little things, frequently repeated, start to give us new evidence. Yeah. Because what happened over time is you started to get different results until you became a Royal Diamond, and now you are in every sense. Yeah. But then as we continue that journey onwards to that ambassador mindset, then if we really want to focus and become the best version of ourselves, then that journey doesn't stop. And I'll give you an example of those that are athletes. We've got some athletes that after their careers have finished, you see them 10 years on, 20 years on, and they still look in peak performance, shape, fitness. Yeah. Why is that? When they don't have a goal to run towards, because they are it. Yeah. They weren't doing it with an outcomes focused inwards mechanism. Yeah. Focusing on, I'm training for an event. I'm training for a competition. They were a competitor. It's who they were. And so after the competition's finished, they kept on doing everything because that's who they are. But you've got other athletes where you've seen them and you go, wow, you used to be a professional athlete. You do not look anything like it. Yeah. It's all gone. They're all out of shape and they're unfit and they're overweight. They look very, very different to their glory days. Why? They've got no reason to train because they were doing it for a goal, not because of who they are. Now, this is critical for us because if we can do it because this is who we are versus simply a milestone to achieve, then we keep on this journey of continuous improvement. And our journey of humans being more never ends. And it's not just about becoming a diamond or a royal diamond. We start to become the best royal diamond out there. Yeah, that's what we want. I remember when I was single, having goals in regards to my aspirations to be married as to what type of lady I'd like to marry. Yeah. And I had high hopes, right, as to who I wanted her to be. But I also remember thinking to myself as a 19, 20-year-old, if I want this girl, if I want to marry this type of girl, what kind of guy will she want to marry? I need to be that kind of guy. And if I've got a high standard, I've got to measure up. Yeah. So I needed to set my standard high and then continually improve so that I continually measure up. And it's the same in our...
That's perfect, because Mike, you were awesome with this, because you had the vision for your team to take on that vision until they could create their vision themselves. The bigger the vision, the bigger the grandiose that you're doing, impacting education, the world. I know you did a thing about reading, Mike. You were sharing about that a long time ago, and your passion for that. And it allowed other people to step onto your skirt tails, like a better word, you know, your cuffs, to ride along with you until they could figure it out for themselves, what their actual vision impact to the world is, because that's way grandiose. But I could jump on with you, I could map on with you, and I could do that. And so what I'm hearing you say too is that the bigger the dream, the bigger the vision, the bigger the imposter syndrome, you know, that biggerness is, then your team can then jump on with you.
To shift from imposter to belief. Somebody just asked a class on belief. So that's
and from belief to becoming.
To being and becoming, the humans being more peace.
Yeah, and to that point, there is no limit to vision. And there is no limit to being. Yeah. And that means our potential for what we can see and achieve and do that collectively is far beyond. And Mike said this, whatever our vision is, he mentioned this last night, whatever's on our vision board that gets us excited, the reality is far greater. Yeah. Actually, it's always better in real life.
We're talking about the continuous improvement, and that's the beauty of the choice of word that Luis chose in Kaizen. Kaizen is the continuous quality improvement component. So the continuous becoming and becoming the best version of yourself.
And that's why starting with identity and moving out to outcomes is important, because when it's locked into who we are, once we achieve a goal, we don't stop becoming. We keep on our growth journey, and it just becomes better and better and better. Yeah. And that means we can give more, and it's better for more people that are involved, and the community is strengthened collectively as a result. So I've gone over time. I hope that's okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your contributions. It's been wonderful, great discussion. But again, let's realize that our vision can be unlimited when we really have that belief in who we are and what we're capable of. Let's start there and grow out as a team, and be sure to help each other out on that journey. So thank you all very much. And we'll speak to you next week. See ya.
Thank you, Ben.